One would see it.
Yeah. Again, so like I said, if I had known that when I hired you, I'm not sure it would have happened.
This, the recent rents. Is different. And they would love any of that. You do, and I. My son.
I know, you keep saying that.
I swear, if you see,
No, it won't. I don't get any. Like, yeah, it's still alive.
That dedication.
Got it.
We get to your on the agenda, I already. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's some of his.
It was like.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Commissioner Aguilar, present. All commissioners are present. You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you. So next is consideration and approval of the agenda. I'm trying something new here. One of our goals at the PRC is to make the regulatory process help demystify it. And so one of the ideas there is that when folks come in to make presentations, that happens at a predictable time, so people will know when that's happening. So if you'll see on the agenda, we've got a time block of 1:30 p.m. for the discussion section. So the idea was get through the rest of the agenda, get to one, and then recess until 1:30. I still think that's a decent idea, but I also don't think there is much to do between now and 1:30. We'll find out. I mean, I never know how long these things take. So I've already spoken to Mr. O'Donnell. I would recommend we can put his discussion item first and then just take that when it happens. The group that I promised a 1:30 start was Southwest Power Group to talk about Rio Sol. I don't see them here now, so I would say we're still going to be on this plan of recessing until 1:30 for presentations. And then for the other presentation group, I don't know if you were planning on it happening at 1:30 or not. So if you are, okay, then we will hold those. I'd recommend discussion section. Let's reorder the items. Put Mr. O'Donnell first, anticipating we'll get that done before we go into recess. So that's my suggestion. I'm seeing heads nodding from the room, so that feels like an okay thing to do. So that was my suggestion on the agenda. Commissioners, do you have any other changes you'd like to make?
I would like to suggest a change. We do have a couple of financing orders on the consent agenda, and I would like to ask that they be moved to the regular action items. I just have a few comments and questions on those.
And I don't have any other changes.
Okay, so just to be sure, we're talking about utility matters 1 and 2 on the consent.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I'll move that we proceed with. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I think that if what you suggested, we move the Michigan Gas Company rate case. And I know that there will be other people here, but I think they will be amenable to that as well. So if that's what you were suggesting, then we would be amenable to that.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'll check in again before we do recess before 1:30, because I want to make sure people had their chance. I mean, it's funny because I set the time to try to be more transparent, but I also want to respect everybody else's time too. So. Okay, so we'll deal with that before we hit recess. I don't think that requires a change to the agenda. So I will move that we proceed with an agenda that is the agenda that was posted, with the exception of moving consent block number 1, utility matters B1 and 2 to the regular action items. And
Second. Chairman, and also moving a discussion item for the interconnection.
Yeah, we'll reorder the discussion items when we get there, I think. To me, the agenda item stays the same. We'll just reshuffle to
Got it.
try to have an efficient meeting, was my thought. And I don't see Scott thinking I'm screwing up here, so. Exactly. Okay, so the motion is agenda as posted, moving utility matters B1 and 2 off of the consent and onto the regular agenda.
I second.
Commissioner Aguilera,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellison.
Aye.
The motion to adopt the agenda as amended passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. Okay, so next agenda item, public comment. You'll see that we've broken it out into 2 categories. Didn't quite know the timing of when things were gonna come together with the rate case, and so I delayed in scheduling the public comment hearing, and now things are moving fairly quickly on the procedural schedule, but I wanted to make sure people know that they have opportunity to make public comment on New Mexico Gas Company rate case. So that's why we highlighted that in the public comment section, and we'll, if anybody has registered for public comment on New Mexico Gas Company rate case, we'll hear you first. In addition to that, so you'll expect to see that at our next public meeting. I think we're still also trying to plan a formal hearing as what's described in the procedural order for that. So just want people to know they got opportunity for comment there. Mr. Rodriguez, do we have anybody register for public comment?
Mr. Chair, we don't have anyone.
Gas rate case or otherwise?
Mr. Chair, we don't have anyone registered for public comment for either.
Okay, thank you. Then, is anyone here in the room wanting to make public comment at this point? No. Okay, so we will proceed to announcements. Start with Office of General Counsel, Mr. Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Aaron Lecoq. That's funny.
Everybody was Irish on Sunday.
That's true. Is here to give a couple of updates about some appellate issues.
Good morning, commissioners. Since the last open meeting, we've received 3 orders from the Supreme Court. The first one we received on March 11th, was for case number 39432, which was SPS EPE PNM versus PRC, and it was the case for which we had the oral argument that morning. The court issued an order without an opinion, affirming the community solar rule, and indicated in the order that we would have an opinion in the near future. So I don't know what, probably in the next few months. The second one we received on March 18th, for number 38815, which is SPS versus PRC, and it's consolidated. There are a number of other appeals consolidated, which within that one, and that one affirmed the entirety of the commission's order with respect to the REA. And the court made 2 holdings in that. The first was the court held that SPS's proposed retirement of banked renewable energy certificates to exceed the RPS was insufficient to qualify for an incentive under the REA because the proposed retirement would not have produced or acquired renewable energy as required by section 6216(4)(d). They based this conclusion on a plain language reading of the statute, which the court found to be consistent with REA's clear legislative intent to require public utilities to procure sufficient renewable energy resources to reduce carbon emissions and achieve zero carbon resource standard by 2045. The second holding addressed a number of other challenges, facial challenges to the rule that SPS had levied. And so the court found that the amended rule 5782 does not exceed the scope of the REA, is not arbitrary and capricious or void for vagueness, and is not otherwise unlawful. So this opinion affects a number of other matters that are currently on appeal. There are 2 that have been fully briefed and has been held in abeyance pending the outcome of this opinion, and that's 39773 and 39796. I assume that we would get a decision relatively soon on those that it's one matter, it's been consolidated on that matter. And then there are two others that are open and active, 39967 and 40048, which are City of Las Cruces versus the PRC, because those are open and active. I don't want to speculate on what's going to happen with that, but this one opinion is going to have some far-reaching implications. And then the last one is S1 SC 39152, which is the Avangrid matter. The court vacated the order with respect to the discovery sanction, found the discovery sanction was overbroad, and so we will get an order for the commission's consideration in the near future. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation.
Mr. Chair, I had just a couple of things also. One is just to give people a heads up that I think we mentioned this at the last meeting, but there will be another special open meeting next Thursday. That meeting will be discussing EPE's transportation electrification program. And also SPS's IRP in terms of the commission designee and the independent monitor, and also PNM's also clarifying the designee for PNM's IRP. And I also just wanted to mention, just to make sure everybody knows, that we are not moving to a weekly cadence on the meetings. It just so happened this month that we had a lot of statutory deadlines coming up that we needed to make sure we got stuff done for. So we're gonna basically having a meeting every week this month. So in April, we'll go back to the regular every 2 weeks. And the other thing I wanted to mention was we are going to be making a change starting in April to our orders, and basically what we're trying to do is make the process a little more streamlined and a little more I guess just better. So we are going to be, instead of filing orders on the day of the meeting, we're going to be filing the orders the day after the meeting. The impact on the public and the regulated entities, I suppose, is the date by which the time for motions for rehearing or appeals run. So instead of running from Thursday of the meeting, it'll run from Friday the next day. This will be in the new orders. It'll clarify this. And so hopefully it's not going to, cause too much of an issue with anybody, and it's going to work a lot better for us internally, I think. So I just want to give people a heads up that I'll keep mentioning this also so that everybody kind of gets used to it. And again, if you, starting with that meeting, if you read the orders, the decretal paragraphs, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So, but the orders will still be effective on the date of the meeting, the date that they are signed. But the rule is written kind of oddly in that they are effective either when they're filed or when it says they're effective in the order, but they are considered issued when they're filed. And then that's the date that the motions for rehearing or appeal start from. So that's why it sort of matters that we're doing it the next day, but it's going to be effective still on the day of the meeting. Hopefully that made a little bit of sense. I'll try and explain it again next time, and as I go along, hopefully we'll all get it. So that's it.
And thank you for walking through that. I think that will help. Commissioners, did you have any announcements?
No, thank you.
I do not.
I just had two. One is it's that time of year again. It's Fix a Leak Week. So that's a initiative that NARUC does every year to try to remind people to just make sure they don't have any leaks on their water system. So this week, the PRC through Jordan has been trying to highlight that through social media channels, that type of thing. So just a good reminder that, like when your clocks roll back, check your smoke detector, fix a leak, try to make sure you don't have any plumbing leaks. It's an astounding amount of water that gets lost through leaks, and especially here in New Mexico where water is precious. I like highlighting that. So that's one announcement. The other is I've got a recitation to read from a closed session that we had recently. So On Wednesday, March 20th, commission met in closed session, which was closed pursuant to NMSA 1978 10-15-1H3. Deliberations by a public body in connection with an administrative adjudicatory proceeding. I affirm for the record, the matters discussed in the closed session were limited only to those specified in the notice and agenda for that meeting, specifically deliberations regarding a potential final order in case number 23-00231 UT. That case is in the matter of El Paso Electric Company's application for approval of its transportation electrification plan for 2024 through 2026. I further affirm that no final actions were taken. So that concludes my announcements. Next on the agenda, we've got approval of prior meeting minutes. I had some edits for the February 22nd regular open meeting, which are actually material, just the way the vote was described on. Yeah, the case 23-0073, it was a 2-to-1 vote, but then that meant that Commissioner Aguilera and Ellison had voted in favor and I had voted against. So I made that edit in board effect. And then beyond that, I didn't have any other edits. So commissioners, did you have anything else that needs to be changed on the draft minutes we have before approval?
I did not.
I don't have any either.
So I would move for approval of the February 22nd, 2024 regular open meeting minutes.
I second with the change that you mentioned.
Commissioner Ellison?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connell?
Aye.
Commissioner Aguilera?
Aye.
The motion to approve the minutes as amended passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.